Jack Bennett stood at the viewport of the Earth Alliance vessel Starseeker, watching the stars streak by. He ran his fingers through his short brown hair and straightened his blue uniform. The message that had arrived yesterday still didn't seem real. "Officer Bennett to the command deck," said a voice over the intercom. Jack took one last look at the cosmic light show and headed to meet with Captain Olivia Martinez. As the ship's diplomatic officer, Jack had handled first contact situations and trade negotiations, but nothing had prepared him for the message waiting in his quarters. Yesterday, Captain Martinez sat behind her desk when Jack entered. She was a serious woman with dark hair pulled back tightly and eyes that missed nothing. "Bennett, I assume you've read the invitation?" she asked. "Yes, Captain, several times." "I still can't believe it." She slid a tablet across the desk. "The Alliance Command can't believe it either. This is the first time the Vosanthi have invited a human to any royal event, let alone a wedding." Jack nodded. The Vosanthi were one of the most advanced species humans had encountered since joining the galactic community 15 years ago. Tall, with skin that changed colors like a living rainbow, and eyes that seemed to see beyond normal space, they were as beautiful as they were mysterious. "Why me?" Jack asked. "There are more senior diplomatic officers." Captain Martinez smiled slightly. "The invitation specifically requested you. Apparently, your work with the Vosanthi trade delegation made an impression." Jack remembered the delegation from 6 months ago. He had spent weeks learning their complex customs and language. It had been exhausting but fascinating. "The wedding is for Princess Zillara of the Vosanthi and Prince Zorn of the Krell Dominion," Martinez continued. "This marriage will end 300 years of tension between their empires. Your presence could help humanity gain favor with both species." "When do I leave?" Jack asked. "Today, a Vosanthi ship will meet us at the Arcturus station in 6 hours. You'll have Diane Wu and Peter Collins as your team." Jack nodded. Diane was the best communications specialist on the ship, and Peter was a cultural expert. They would help him avoid making any serious mistakes. "Don't mess this up, Bennett," Martinez said. "The Alliance needs better relations with advanced species like the Vosanthi. Be respectful, follow their customs, and try not to cause an interstellar incident." "Yes, Captain." 6 hours later, Jack stood with his small team at the Arcturus docking. The Vosanthi shuttle that arrived looked like a teardrop made of crystal and silver. It sparkled under the station lights as if covered in diamonds. A tall figure emerged from the shuttle. His skin shifted from blue to purple as he approached. He wore robes that seemed to float around him. "Officer Jack Bennett," the alien said, in perfect English. "I am Kelvin, Royal Escort to the House of Eternal Light. I welcome you and your companions to the service of Princess Zillara." Jack bowed exactly as he had practiced. "We are honored by the invitation and the opportunity to witness such a joyous occasion." Kelvin's skin turned a pleased shade of gold. "You have studied our ways. The princess will be impressed." The journey to Vosanth Prime took 3 days in the alien vessel. Jack spent most of that time studying more about Vosanthi wedding customs. With Peter and Diane, they learned that the celebration would last 5 Earth days, with dozens of rituals and ceremonies. "Remember," Peter said, showing Jack a complex diagram of hand gestures. "This means respect, but if you turn your palm just slightly, it means romantic interest. The difference is tiny but very important." Jack practiced until his hands hurt. "Why does everything have to be so complicated?" Diane looked up from her translator device. "Their society is over 10,000 years old. They've had time to make things complicated." When they finally arrived at Vosanth Prime, Jack's breath caught in his throat. The planet glowed with city lights that formed intricate patterns across continents. The royal palace rose from the center of the largest city, a structure of impossible spires and arches that seemed to defy gravity. Their shuttle landed on a platform, made of some material that looked like glass but felt warm under Jack's feet. A delegation of Vosanthi waited for them, their skin shifting through colors of welcome. "They're nervous," Diane whispered, watching the rapid color changes. "This is a big deal for them, too." Jack nodded and stepped forward to greet the royal. "Attendants." He was led through hallways that seemed to sing softly as they walked. The walls changed colors and patterns, responding to the emotions of those passing by. After a series of introductions and welcome ceremonies, Jack and his team were shown to their quarters. The rooms were beautiful but strange, with furniture that grew from the floor and ceilings that showed the sky above. "We have only 2 hours before the first ceremony," Peter reminded him. "The Gift of Worlds ritual. Remember, accept everything with your left hand only." Jack barely had time to change into the formal clothing provided for him, a suit that felt like silk but adjusted to his body temperature. The material shifted colors subtly, mimicking the Vasanthi skin but in more muted tones appropriate. For a foreign guest, the Gift of Worlds ceremony took place in a vast hall filled with hundreds of Vasanthi, nobles and representatives from 20 different alien species. Jack recognized some from Alliance records, but many were completely new to him. Jack and his team were led to a position of honor near the front of the hall. He could feel the stares of the assembled aliens and tried to stand straighter. A sound like crystal bells filled the air, and everyone turned toward the main doors. 2 groups entered from opposite sides of the hall. From the right came the Vasanthi royal family. The king and queen led the procession, their skin shimmering with royal purple and gold. Behind them walked a figure that could only be PrincessHFY Lara. Jack forgot his diplomatic training for a moment and simply stared. The princess was tall and graceful, with skin that shifted through colors like an aurora. Her eyes contained swirling galaxies of gold and violet. She wore a crown of living light and a dress that seemed woven from starlight. From the left side entered the Krell delegation. They were different from the Vasanthi, shorter, with tough gray skin and sharp features. They moved with military precision. At their center walked Prince Zorn, his face stern and his eyes cold. The 2 royal families met in the center of the hall. The ceremony began with speeches in several languages. Jack's translator provided the meanings, but he found himself watching Princess Zalora instead of listening. To his shock, he realized she was watching him too. Several times during the ceremony, her eyes found his in the crowd. Once, she even smiled slightly, causing her skin to flash a brief shade of pink. When the formal part ended, guests were invited to present themselves to the royal couples. Jack's team was among the first called forward. The human diplomatic officer, Jack Bennett and Associates, announced the Vasanthi herald. Jack approached and performed the greeting ritual perfectly. He kept his eyes down respectfully until a musical voice spoke. "Officer Bennett," said Princess Zalora in flawless English, "I have looked forward to meeting you. Your work with our trade delegation was most impressive." Jack looked up in surprise. "Thank you, Your Highness. I am honored by your invitation." "The honor is ours," she replied. Her skin rippled with colors Jack couldn't interpret. "I hope you will find our customs interesting. I find human ways fascinating." Prince Zorn made a harsh sound. "We have many more important guests to greet, Xylara." His translator made his voice sound metallic and cold. The princess's skin darkened slightly, but she nodded. "We will speak more during the celebrations, Officer Bennett. I have many questions about Earth." As Jack backed away with the proper bow, he caught Prince Zorn giving him a look of pure suspicion. Jack suddenly realized that this wedding might be much more complicated than he had expected. The next 3 days were a blur of activities for Jack. The Vasanthi wedding celebration included dozens of rituals, feasts, and ceremonies. Each one had specific rules that Jack struggled to remember. Left hand for accepting gifts, right hand for giving them, Peter reminded him as they prepared for the morning ceremony. "And remember to keep your eyes lowered when the royal family enters," Jack nodded. His head felt stuffed with rules and customs. "Has anyone seen Diane this morning?" "She's meeting with the Vasanthi communication team," Peter said. "Apparently. They're fascinated by human languages." The morning ceremony took place in a garden where plants sang soft melodies and flowers changed colors in response to emotions. Jack stood with representatives from other worlds, watching as Princess Zalora and Prince Zorn participated in a ritual involving glowing water and floating crystals. Jack couldn't help noticing that the princess and prince barely looked at each Their movements were perfect but mechanical, lacking any warmth. After the ceremony, guests mingled in the garden. Jack was careful to follow proper etiquette, using the greeting gestures Peter had taught him. Officer Bennett. Jack turned to find Princess Xylera standing behind him. Her skin shimmered with blues and purples, and small lights danced in her hair. Up close, she was even more beautiful than Jack had first thought. He bowed deeply. Your Highness, the ceremony was beautiful. Walk with me, she said. It wasn't a request. Jack followed her down a path where they were partially hidden by tall singing plants. The princess's guards followed at a distance. You are the first human to attend a royal Vasanthi ceremony, Xylera said. Do you know why I requested you specifically? No, Your Highness. I assumed it was because of my work with your trade delegation. She smiled, and her skin rippled with gold. That was part of it, but mostly I was curious. I've studied Earth. Transmissions, your television and internet, humans are fascinating. Jack felt himself blushing. We're not that interesting compared to the Vasanthi. You are wrong, she said. Your species is young but full of passion and creativity. My people have become fixed in our ways over thousands of years. She stopped, walking, and turned to face him. This marriage to Prince Zorn, it is a political arrangement. Our empires have fought for centuries. This union will bring peace. That's honorable, Jack said. Yes, but not joyful. Her skin darkened to deep blue. The Krell value strength and control. They see emotions as weakness. Before Jack could respond, a harsh voice interrupted them. Xylera! What are you doing alone with this? Human? Prince Zorn approached, his gray skin looking almost metallic in the garden light. His guards flanked him, hands near their weapons. Not alone, Zorn. My guards are present, Xylera said calmly. Officer. Bennett is our honored guest. I was explaining our customs. Zorn's eyes narrowed. The human should know his place? These private conversations are inappropriate, Jack bowed respectfully. I apologize if I've caused offense, Your Highness. I was honored by the princesses. Attention. The princess gives her attention too freely, Zorn said coldly. Remember, human, she will be my wife in 2 days. Jack stepped back, recognizing the dangerous situation. Of course, I meant no disrespect. Xylera's skin flashed with angry red before settling back to royal purple. Officer Bennett is a diplomatic representative of Earth. He deserves courtesy. Zorn. The tension between them was thick enough to touch. Finally, Zorn gave a stiff bow. The afternoon feast begins soon. We should join the other guests. He offered his arm to Xylera, who took it with obvious reluctance as they walked away. Jack let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. You've made an enemy, said Diane, appearing beside him. I saw the whole thing. I wasn't trying to, Jack said. The princess started the conversation. And Zorn noticed how she looks at you. Diane shook her head. Be careful, Jack. Royal alien politics are dangerous territory. The afternoon feast was held in a hall where the ceiling showed moving images of Vasanthi history. Jack and his team sat at a table with other non-Vasanthi guests, including representatives from the Morgan Republic and the Zentari Collective. First time at a Vasanthi royal event? Asked a blue-skinned Zentari. Jack nodded. It's overwhelming. Wait until the Unity dance tonight, the alien said with a clicking laugh. That's when things get interesting. Potential mates show their compatibility through movement. But the princess is already engaged, Jack said. The Zentari's eyes blinked, in a pattern Jack couldn't interpret. Tradition requires all eligible nobles to participate. It's symbolic now, but it used to be how royal matches were made. When evening came, Jack wore new formal attire provided by Vasanthi attendants. The material shifted colors subtly as he moved, mimicking Vasanthi skin in a respectful way. The Unity dance was held in the largest hall Jack had seen yet. The floor glowed with swirling patterns, and the air was filled with sweet scents and soft music. Remember, Peter whispered urgently, just follow what others do. Don't try anything fancy. And whatever you do, don't use the palm-forward gesture to any Vasanthi noble. Jack nodded nervously. The dance began with members of both royal courts forming complex patterns across the floor. The movements were fluid and graceful, reminding Jack of Earth ballet but with an alien precision. When it was time for guests to join, Jack tried to copy the basic movements. He felt awkward compared to the graceful Vasanthi, but at least he wasn't stepping on anyone's feet. Suddenly, Princess Zalora appeared before him, her skin glowing with bright colors. "Officer Bennett," she said, her voice musical. "Will you join the exchange pattern?" Before Jack could ask what that meant, she took his hands and guided him into a new series of movements. They spun together, her lights trailing in the air around them. Jack tried desperately to follow her lead without making mistakes. He was so focused on his feet that he didn't notice the murmurs spreading through the crowd. "Jack," Diane's urgent voice came through his earpiece. "The pattern you're dancing. It's a courtship ritual." Jack nearly stumbled. "What should I do?" he whispered. "Nothing now," Diane said. "Stopping would be a terrible insult. Just finish the dance." As they completed the final turn, Jack noticed Prince Zorn watching them. His face was rigid with anger, and his guards looked ready for violence. The music ended, and Zalora bowed to Jack in a formal way. Her skin was glowing bright pink and gold. Jack returned the bow, trying to match her movements exactly. As the princess walked away, Jack saw the Vasanthi king and queen watching him with unreadable expressions. Other nobles were whispering behind their hands. "What just happened?" Jack asked when he rejoined his team. "You just danced the pattern of potential union with the princess," Peter said, his face pale. "It's an ancient ritual where nobles show interest in possible mates. But she's engaged to Prince Zorn." "Exactly," Diane said grimly. And the way she was glowing, every Vasanthi in the room could see she was showing genuine interest. "It gets worse," Peter added. "When you returned her bow, you used the exact gesture that indicates you accept the interest." Jack felt his stomach drop. "I was just copying her movement." "Intent doesn't matter in Vasanthi royal protocol," Peter said. "The gestures have their own meaning." Jack looked across the room and saw Prince Zorn speaking angrily with his advisors. The Krell prince kept looking in Jack's direction, his eyes cold with hatred. "I think we have a problem," Jack said quietly. Diane nodded. "A very big problem." Jack spent a restless night in his quarters. He kept replaying the dance with Princess Zalora in his mind, wondering how a simple diplomatic mission had gone so wrong. The angry face of Prince Zorn haunted his dreams. Morning came too quickly. Jack met with Diane and Peter over breakfast, their faces serious. "Captain Martinez called," Diane said. "The Starseeker picked up increased activity from the Krell ships. They're concerned." Peter pushed a tablet across the table. "I've been researching Vasanthi Krell customs all night. There's a tradition called Krellvoss used to settle matters of honor." "Why do I get the feeling I'm not going to like this?" Jack asked. "Because you won't," Peter replied. "If Prince Zorn challenges you, refusing would be seen as admitting wrongdoing and could damage Earth-Vasanthi relations." Jack rubbed his temples. "And if I accept?" "Then you participate in 3 trials against the prince. Physical, mental, and spiritual challenges." "Great," Jack said. "I just have to fight an alien prince who probably has military training and superhuman strength." Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime. A Vasanthi attendant entered and bowed. "Officer Bennett, your presence is requested in the Grand Hall immediately." Jack looked at his team. Diane squeezed his arm encouragingly. "We'll be right behind you." The Grand Hall was filled with Vasanthi nobles and Krell officials. Jack was led to the center of the room, where the Vasanthi king and queen sat on crystalline thrones. Princess Zalora stood beside them, her skin a worried shade of blue. Prince Zorn and his delegation stood opposite, their postures rigid. The Vasanthi king raised his hand, and the hall fell silent. "A matter of honor has been raised," he said, his voice echoing. "Prince Zorn of the Krell Dominion has invoked the ancient right of Krellvoss." Jack's heart sank. He stood straight, trying to look calmer than he felt. Prince Zorn stepped forward. "The human has dishonored me by attempting to claim interest from my betrothed. I demand satisfaction through the 3 trials of Krellvoss," The king turned to Jack. Officer Bennett of Earth, do you understand the challenge presented to you? Jack swallowed hard. Your Majesty, I meant no disrespect to Prince Zorn or to your customs. Any offense was unintentional. Intent does not change action, Prince Zorn said coldly. Will you face the challenge or prove your cowardice? Jack knew he had no real choice. Refusing would harm Earth's standing with both empires. He bowed in the formal Vasanthi style. I accept the challenge, Your Majesty, a murmur ran through the crowd. The king nodded solemnly. The first trial will begin at midday in the Crystal Arena, the challenge of physical prowess. As the assembly dispersed, Jack was approached by a Vasanthi royal advisor named Tellin, whose skin was a scholarly shade of green. Officer Bennett, as the challenged party, you are entitled to preparation time. Please follow me. Jack was led to a small room where Diane and Peter waited. Captain Martinez's face appeared on a communication screen. Bennett, what have you done? She asked, her voice tight with concern. Apparently insulted an alien prince. By dancing with his fiancée, Jack replied. Martinez sighed. Our analysts say the Krell are moving ships into position around Vosanth Prime, whatever this challenge is. It's being taken very seriously. It's called Krellvoss, Peter explained. 3 trials to settle matters of honor. First physical, then mental, then spiritual. Can you win? Martinez asked bluntly. Jack shrugged. I don't know. But refusing would have created a diplomatic incident. Winning might create a worse one, Diane pointed out. The Krell seem like sore losers, a soft knock interrupted them. The door opened to reveal Princess Xylera, her guards keeping a respectful distance. Officer Bennett, may I speak with you? Privately? Jack looked at his team, then nodded. Diane and Peter left the room, closing the door behind them. Your Highness, I'm sorry for any trouble I've caused, Jack began. Xylera's skin rippled with emotion. You have caused no trouble. I chose to dance with you knowing what it might signify. Jack stared at her. You knew? But why? Because my betrothal to Prince Zorn is not what it appears, she said quietly. The Krell have been building weapons and ships beyond what our treaty allows. I believe they plan to use this marriage to gain access to Vosanthi defenses. You think they're planning an attack? Jack asked. I have suspicions, but no. Proof, she said. My father believes the marriage will secure peace, but I fear it will lead to our downfall. Jack ran a hand through his hair. Why tell me this? Why involve Earth at all? Because humans are new to our sector of space. You have no old alliances or grudges and ... Her skin flushed pink. I find your species fascinating, your adaptability, your creativity. Qualities my people have lost over centuries of stability. That doesn't explain why you chose to dance with me, Jack said. Xylera moved closer. The Krellvoss is an ancient tradition. If an outsider completes all 3 trials, they earn the right to request any boon from the royal family. Jack's eyes widened as he understood. You wanted Zorn to challenge me. You're using me to get out of this marriage. Not using you, she corrected. Offering you an opportunity? If you win, you could request an alliance between Earth and Vosanth that would benefit both our peoples. And if I lose? Her skin darkened. Then the marriage proceeds as planned, and I will do my duty. Before Jack could respond, a chime sounded. Through the palace. The first trial approaches, Xylera said. I must go. But remember, Officer Bennett, in the physical challenge, Prince Zorn will expect you to match his strength. That is not the only path to victory. With that cryptic advice, she left. Jack rejoined his team and explained what he had learned. Diane looked skeptical. She could be manipulating you, Jack. Maybe, he admitted. But what if she's right about the Krell? Either way, I have to go through with this now. At midday, Jack stood in the Crystal Arena, a circular space surrounded by shimmering walls that reflected light in dazzling patterns. The arena was filled with spectators from both empires. Earth's ambassador had arrived and sat with Diane and Peter, looking deeply concerned. Prince Zorn entered from the opposite side. He had changed into fitted armor that emphasized his powerful build. He carried no weapons, but his hands were covered in metal gauntlets. The Vasanthi king announced the rules. The first trial is a test of physical prowess. Contestants must retrieve the crystal star from the center of the lumen forest and return it to the arena. The first to return wins. No weapons are permitted, but the forest itself contains many natural challenges. Jack was given light armor similar to the prince's, but designed for human proportions. It was surprisingly comfortable and moved with his body like a second skin. As they prepared to begin, Prince Zorn approached Jack. "Your species is weak, human. This challenge will prove it." Jack met his gaze steadily. "Strength isn't everything." "Your Highness," Zorn's laugh was cold. "We shall see." The signal was given, and both contestants raced from the arena toward the lumen forest, a dense collection of bioluminescent trees surrounding the palace. The race had begun, and Jack knew the real challenge was just starting. The lumen forest was unlike any place Jack had ever seen. The trees glowed with soft blue and purple light, and the ground sparkled with tiny crystals. Jack ran deeper into the forest, trying to keep sight of Prince Zorn ahead of him. The Krell. Prince moved with incredible speed. His powerful legs carried him easily over fallen logs and around glowing bushes. Jack pushed himself harder, his human muscles already burning with effort. "I can't match his speed," Jack muttered to himself. He remembered Xylara's words. Strength was not the only path to victory. Jack slowed and looked around. The forest seemed to pulse with life. He noticed small creatures moving through the trees, following paths that avoided certain plants. Jack decided to watch and learn. Meanwhile, Prince Zorn crashed through the forest, breaking branches and disturbing the natural balance. The forest itself seemed to react, with some plants turning dark when the prince passed. Jack followed the small creature's path. He moved more slowly but more efficiently, working with the forest rather than against it. He avoided the dark patches of ground that the creatures skipped over. Soon, Jack came to a clearing where a large pond of glowing liquid blocked the path. Prince Zorn had reached it first and was wading through, the liquid reaching his waist. The prince's face showed pain, but he pushed forward stubbornly. Jack studied the situation. The small creatures he had been following skipped across small stepping stones just beneath the surface of the liquid. Jack carefully followed their path, hopping from stone to stone. He crossed the pond quickly while Zorn still struggled through the burning liquid. "The human learns," Zorn growled as Jack passed him. "But learning will not save you in the end." Jack continued forward, now ahead of the prince. The forest grew denser and the light dimmer. Jack could hear Zorn behind him, gaining ground with his superior strength. Finally, Jack reached the center of the forest. In a small clearing stood a pedestal made of crystal. On top floated the crystal star, a perfect star-shaped gem that spun slowly in the air. Jack reached for it just as Zorn burst into the clearing. The prince lunged forward, knocking Jack aside with a powerful blow. Jack tumbled to the ground, his breath knocked out of him. "The star is mine," Zorn declared, reaching for the gem, but as his fingers touched it, the crystal star flashed bright red and shot up into the air, hovering just out of reach. The pedestal changed color from blue to angry red. Jack got to his feet, wincing from the pain in his side. "I think the forest is testing us," he said. "It doesn't respond well to force." Zorn ignored him, jumping to grab the star. Again, it moved. "Just out of reach?" The prince grew angrier, his face darkening with rage. Jack stepped back and observed. The small creatures he had followed were now gathered around the clearing, watching. Jack noticed how they moved, gently, respectfully, in harmony with the forest. While Zorn continued to jump and grab at the star, Jack approached the pedestal slowly. He bowed to it as he would to a Vasanthi elder. Then he held out his hand. Palm up, in a gesture of request rather than demand, the crystal star stopped moving. Slowly, it lowered itself until it rested gently on Jack's palm. It felt warm and seemed to pulse with life. "Thank you," Jack said to the forest. Zorn roared with anger. "You cheated!" No human could understand the forest better than a Krell. "I didn't try to understand it better," Jack said. "I just respected it." Jack turned and began running back toward the arena, the crystal star held carefully in his hands. Zorn followed, his heavy footsteps shaking the ground. The return journey was more difficult. Jack's side hurt where Zorn had struck him, and he was tired from the long run. The prince was gaining on him, driven by anger and shame. As they neared the edge of the forest, Zorn caught up. He grabbed Jack's shoulder and spun him around. "Give me the star, human. I will not lose to a weaker species." Jack held the star away. "From Zorn? The challenge isn't over until we reach the arena." Zorn's eyes narrowed. "Then you won't reach the arena." He swung a powerful fist at Jack's head. Jack ducked just in time, feeling the air rush past his face. He knew he couldn't win in a direct fight against the stronger alien. Instead of fighting back, Jack dodged another blow and continued running. The arena was just ahead, visible through the trees. The crowd could be heard cheering as they spotted the contestants. Zorn caught up again and grabbed Jack's armor from behind. He pulled hard, causing Jack to fall backward. The crystal star flew from Jack's hand, landing on the soft forest floor. Both Jack and Zorn lunged for it. Their hands reached the star at the same time. For a moment they struggled, each trying to pull it away from the other. Then Jack had an idea. Instead of pulling, he pushed the star toward Zorn suddenly. The unexpected move caused the prince to fall backward. While Zorn was off balance, Jack scooped up the star and sprinted the final distance to the arena. Jack burst through the tree line and into the open arena. Holding the crystal star high, the crowd erupted in cheers and gasps. He had won the first trial. Prince Zorn entered moments later, his face dark with rage. He stalked to his side of the arena without looking at Jack. The Vasanthi king rose from his seat. "The first trial is complete. Officer Jack Bennett of Earth is the victor." Jack could hardly believe it. He looked up to see Princess Xylera watching him, her skin glowing with bright gold and pink colors. She gave him a small nod of approval. As Jack was led away to rest before the next trial, he passed the Earth delegation. Ambassador Allen looked both proud and worried. "Impressive work, Bennett," she said quietly. "But be careful. Our sensors detect more Krell ships arriving in the system. Whatever this contest means to them, they're taking it very seriously." Jack nodded. "The princess thinks they're planning something, using the wedding as cover for an attack or takeover." The ambassador's eyes widened. "That would explain the fleet movements. I'll contact Earth Command immediately." In his quarters, Jack was treated for his injuries by Vasanthi healers. Their touch was gentle, and his bruises faded under their care. Diane and Peter visited him, bringing news from around the palace. "The Vasanthi nobles are talking about you," Diane said. "They're impressed that a human could win the forest challenge." Peter looked less happy. "The Krell delegation is furious. They're saying you must have cheated somehow." Jack sighed. "What's the next trial?" "The mental challenge," Peter said. "From what I can gather, it involves solving a complex puzzle of quantum mathematics and temporal logic." Jack groaned. "Great. I barely passed basic physics at the academy." "Don't worry," Diane said with a smile. "Humans have one advantage. We think differently. Sometimes that's enough." A Vasanthi attendant entered. "Officer Bennett, the second trial will begin in 1 hour. Princess Xylera requests a moment of your time before then." Jack nodded. The first trial had been difficult. Enough, he could only imagine what challenges still lay ahead, and what would happen if he actually managed to win them all. Princess Xylera waited for Jack in a small garden room. Her skin shimmered with nervous colors as he entered. "You did well in the forest," she said. "The Lumen Forest rarely grants its star to visitors." Jack smiled tiredly. "I just paid attention to what worked. Your advice helped." Xylera moved closer. "The second trial will test your mind, not your body. Prince Zorn is highly trained in our mathematical systems." "I'm not sure how I can win that one," Jack admitted. "Human minds work differently than ours," she said. "You see patterns we miss after thousands of years of thinking the same way. Use that difference." She handed him a small crystal. "This contains information about Krell ship movements. If my suspicions are correct, they plan to attack immediately after the wedding." Jack took the crystal. "I'll get this to my team." "But what about the third trial?" Xylera's skin darkened. The spiritual trial takes place in the sacred caverns of ancestral memory. It will test your very essence. No outsider has ever succeeded. Then why did you set this up? Jack asked. If it's impossible? Because even if you fail, you have shown my people that humans are worthy allies? And ... Her skin flushed pink. I believed you might succeed where others failed. Before Jack could respond, a chime sounded. The second trial begins, Xylara said. Remember, think differently. The mental challenge took place in the Science Dome, a vast room with walls that displayed swirling equations and pulsing light patterns. In the center stood two podiums facing a large crystal structure shaped like a twisting cube. Jack stood at one podium, Prince Zorn at the other. The Vasanthi King explained the challenge. Before you is the quantum puzzle. It contains 1,000 possible configurations, but only one correct solution. You must unlock the pattern and bring the cube to harmony. The crystal cube began to rotate, displaying complex mathematical symbols and changing colors. Jack stared at it, feeling completely lost. The symbols seemed to shift and change even as he watched. Prince Zorn began manipulating his control panel immediately, his fingers moving with practiced precision. The cube responded to his inputs, sections rotating and realigning. Jack looked down at his own controls. They were labeled with symbols he didn't understand. He pressed one experimentally, and a section of the cube rotated. The prince is already 1/3 through the solution, Peter whispered from nearby. You need to hurry. Jack tried to focus. The symbols made no sense to him, but he noticed something about the patterns. When certain colors appeared together, the cube seemed to pulse more brightly. Jack began pressing controls that brought similar colors together. He wasn't following the mathematical logic, but instead creating a harmonious visual pattern. Prince Zorn worked methodically, solving each section according to the rules he had studied. His portion of the cube became more organized, but lacked the vibrancy of Jack's side. The audience watched in silence as the two approaches played out. Jack's method seemed random to the Vasanthi scientists, who whispered among themselves in confusion. As Jack continued, he noticed that when he created certain color combinations, the cube emitted soft musical tones. He began to follow the music, trying to create a harmonious melody rather than a mathematical solution. Zorn noticed Jack's progress and increased his speed, making small errors in his haste. Each mistake required him to backtrack and recalculate. Jack lost himself in the patterns and music of the cube. He stopped thinking about the trial or the competition and simply played with the colors and sounds, following what felt right rather than what made logical sense. Suddenly, Jack's side of the cube glowed with brilliant light. The colors spread across the entire structure, creating a rainbow effect that pulsed in perfect harmony. The cube emitted a clear, beautiful tone that resonated throughout the dome. The Vasanthi King stood. Harmony has been achieved. The second trial is complete. Officer Jack Bennett of Earth is the victor? The crowd murmured in amazement. Prince Zorn stared at the cube in disbelief. Impossible, he said. He knows nothing of quantum mathematics. The Vasanthi science minister approached the cube, studying it carefully. He found the harmony pattern, she said, her skin showing. Surprised blue. A solution our scientists discovered only recently. The oldest texts call it the music of creation. Jack stepped away from the podium, as surprised as everyone else. Diane rushed to him. How did you do that? She asked. Jack shook his head. I didn't try to solve the math. I just followed the patterns and sounds. Ambassador Allen approached with Peter. The Crystal Princess Zalora gave you confirms our suspicions. The Krell have hidden weapons on their ceremonial ships. They're planning something for after the wedding. We need to warn the Vasanthi, Jack said. Not yet, the ambassador cautioned. We need proof they'll believe. Complete the final trial first. The final trial began at sunset. Jack was led to the entrance of the sacred caverns, a series of crystal tunnels that descended deep into the planet. Prince Zorn stood nearby, his face grim. The Vasanthi King spoke solemnly. The final trial tests the spirit. You must enter the caverns and commune with the ancestral memory of the Vasanthi. If it accepts you, you will receive its mark in return. If not, he left the sentence unfinished. Jack and Zorn entered the caverns through separate tunnels. As Jack descended, the crystal walls began to glow softly, responding to his presence. The air felt thick with energy, tingling against his skin. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber filled with glowing crystals. In the center was a pool of shimmering liquid that seemed to contain galaxies of light. Jack approached cautiously. He could feel a presence in the room, as if millions of minds were watching him. I come with respect, Jack said aloud. Remembering how the forest had responded to his attitude, the pool's surface rippled. A voice spoke inside Jack's mind, not in words but in feelings and images. It asked who he was and why he had come. Jack knelt beside the pool. I am Jack Bennett of Earth. I come seeking understanding. The presence examined him, sifting through his memories and thoughts. Jack felt exposed but didn't resist. He showed the presence everything, his hopes, fears, and what he had learned about the Vasanthi and Krell. The pool suddenly showed him an image of Krell ships attacking Vasanthi cities. Jack understood this was a memory from the distant past, showing the ancient war between the species. Then it showed him Prince Zorn meeting secretly with Krell commanders, planning a new attack disguised as a wedding alliance. The ancestral memory had seen everything through its connection to all Vasanthi crystals. Will you help me stop this? Jack asked the presence. The pool swirled. The presence was uncertain. Outsiders had never been trusted. Before Jack reached out his hand and touched the surface of the pool. I don't seek power or control. I want peace for Earth, for Vasanth, for all who wish to live without fear. The liquid wrapped around Jack's arm, not hurting him but examining his very essence. It searched for lies or deception and found none. The pool suddenly glowed with brilliant light. Jack felt knowledge pour into his mind, ancient Vasanthi wisdom and proof of the Krell deception. The liquid formed a small crystal on his wrist, marking him as accepted by the ancestral memory. When Jack emerged from the cavern, the assembled crowd gasped. His eyes glowed softly with the same light as the sacred pool, and the crystal mark on his wrist shimmered. Prince Zorn had not yet returned. The Vasanthi king approached Jack in awe. The ancestral memory has chosen you. This has never happened with an outsider. Jack looked at the king with newfound confidence. Your Majesty, I must show you something urgent. He held up his wrist, and the crystal projected images of the Krell plot into the air for all to see. The Vasanthi guards immediately went on alert. The king ordered the Krell delegation detained just as Prince Zorn emerged from his tunnel, looking drained and angry. Seeing the projected evidence and the guards arresting his people, Zorn knew his plan was exposed. You have ruined everything, he shouted at Jack. The Krellvoss is complete, the Vasanthi king declared. Jack Bennett of Earth has won all 3 trials. By our most ancient laws, he may claim a boon from the royal house. Jack thought carefully about his next words. I ask for an alliance between Earth and Vasanth, based on mutual respect and exchange of knowledge. The king nodded. It shall be. Done. Princess Xylera stepped forward, her skin glowing with bright, happy colors. Father, our laws also state that I may choose my own path now that the arranged marriage is void. The king looked at his daughter with understanding. What do you choose, Xylera? She turned to Jack, her skin flushing pink. I choose to form a personal alliance with Earth, through this human who has proven himself worthy of our highest trust. Jack's eyes widened as he realized what she was suggesting. Captain Martinez, who had arrived during the final trial, groaned softly. Bennett, this was supposed to be a simple diplomatic mission. 2 days later, Jack stood in the grand hall wearing Vasanthi ceremonial robes. Beside him stood Princess Xylera, more beautiful than ever in her wedding attire. As they completed their vows, joining Earth and Vasanth in ways no one could have imagined, Jack thought about how a simple wedding invitation had changed the course of 2 civilizations forever. And somewhere in the back of the hall, Captain Martinez was already drafting her explanation to Earth Command about how her diplomatic officer had managed to marry an alien princess.